The final update to Iceborne is here, and with it comes one of the toughest challenges in the game. Fatalis the Black Dragon will test even the best of hunters. So I'm Darcblade with an Anti-Fatalis build for the Insect Glaive in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Now, as always, the main purpose of an anti-build, sometimes referred to as a counter build, is it's a build made to take on a specific monster in the game. And whilst in all honesty, Fatalis can be taken down with pretty much any set, the builds in this series are aimed to make the hunt more manageable. When it comes to the Insect Glaive, it's quite an effective weapon to use against Fatalis. Making use of fast combos, it can benefit from elemental builds. On top of that, it also comes with quite a fair few survival aspects, thanks to being able to take to the air and avoid Fatalis' ground-based moves. The build in this video is a little bit of an all-rounder build, combining damage aspects, defensive aspects, and quality of life aspects for an Insect Glaive build that is quite functional to use against the Black Dragon. So for this build you'll need the Brachydium Helm Beta, the Golden Loon Mail Beta, the Escadora Arm Guards Beta, the Golden Loon Coil Beta, and the Escadora Sheaves Beta. I'm also using a Wormsbane Charm 5, and for my weapon I'm using Elatrion Embrace. This has a health regen augmentation and elemental up augmentation. As for the specialist tools, I've gone for the Temporal and Rocksteady Mantles, as I always do for defensive purposes. So when it comes to the jaws, you've got a lot to play around with. First of all, I've gone for Tenderizer jaws for Weakness Exploit. I've then gone for Enhancer jaws for Power Prolonger, Destroyer jaws for Pathbreaker, Vitality jaws for Health Boost, Evasion jaws for Evade Window, Dragon jaws for the Dragon Attack, the Defense jaw for Defense Boost, Shaver jaw for the Clutch Claw Boost, Fortitude jaw for the Fortify skill, Attack jaw for the Attack Boost skill, and finally I've gone for a Flight jaw for the Airborne skill. As for the jaws on the mantles, I've simply gone for Heavy Artillery jaws for the Heavy Artillery skill. So if you've done what I've done here, you'll have a build with 150 health, 100 stamina, which will be 200 health and 150 stamina when you're on a hunt and taking all your relevant consumables. You have a raw attack of 952 with a decent chunk of purple sharpness. You have 5% base affinity, which can be 55% when you're attacking monster weak points that have been tenderized through Clutch Claw attacks first, thanks to Weakness Exploit. You have a dragon rating of 840 with low Elder Seal, and you'll have the stamina upgrade and healing Kinsect bonuses. As for your defense, you have a strong defense of 1105, that's strong against fire, ice and dragon, but unfortunately weak to water and thunder. So when it comes to the skills, first of all you have Dragon Attack at level 6. Dragon Attack is a skill that increases the dragon rating and damage of a build, and as dragon is the best element to use against Fatalis as it's 3-star weak to it, dragon weapons are normally the best option when it comes to picking weapons with elements. Anyway, you have Evade Window level 5. Evade Window is a useful skill that increases the invincibility frames when we perform dodges and evades, allowing us to pretty much roll through all of Fatalis' attacks. You have Divine Blessing at level 5. Divine Blessing is a decent defensive skill that gives us a chance at taking reduced damage when we take a hit from a monster. So this combined with Evade Window, it all adds to our survivability. Should the Evade Window not work, then hopefully Divine Blessing will reduce the damage of the hit we failed to dodge. Anyway, you have Attack Boost level 4. Attack Boost is a skill that increases the raw damage of a build, and at level 4 or above it also grants us a bonus 5% extra base affinity. You have Defense Boost level 4. As I've mentioned in previous builds, I wouldn't normally take Defense Boost, but as we are using the Escadora armor pieces and thus have the element conversion set bonus, when you have Defense Boost at level 4, not only does it provide you extra defense, but it also provides you extra elemental resistances as well. And thanks to that set bonus, the elemental resistances are converted to increased elemental damage on this build. Anyway, next up you have Health Boost at level 3, allowing our health to get to that maximum of 200. You have Weakness Exploit at level 3, which is a skill that increases our affinity whenever we're attacking monster weak points. And should these weak points be tenderized through Clutch Claw attacks first, this increase to our affinity is even greater. Weakness Exploit at level 3 can potentially provide us an extra 50% affinity. Next up is Power Prolonger, level 3, a useful quality of life skill for the Insect Glaive. Basically, it allows the Kinsect bonuses, the Kinsect extracts we get, to remain active for longer periods. So we don't have to keep stopping and reapplying them. You can, if you want, replace this with something else if you so desire, something more offensive, defensive, the choice is up to you, but if you do, you'll need to swap out the Enhancer jaws. Anyway, next up is Pathbreaker at level 3, a useful skill for fighting Fatalis. Pathbreaker allows a build to break monster body parts more easily, and when it comes to the Fatalis hunt, you'll want to break its horns at least once before the final phase. If you haven't done this, then when phase 3 starts, Fatalis will gain blue flames which can pretty much one-shot any hunter, making survival a little bit more difficult. Anyway, next up is Airborne level 1. This is thanks to the Flight Jewel. Airborne basically increases our damage when we're performing airborne attacks, and as the Insect Glaive naturally shines whilst in the air, this is definitely useful. Although when it comes to the Insect Glaive, remember that you'll do more damage on the floor with your combos than in the air. Sticking to the air is useful against Fatalis, especially when the monster is on the move and you don't have a window of opportunity to attack with your grounded combos. Anyway, you have Fortify level 1, a useful skill for tough hunts in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Basically every time you faint, you'll come back with increased raw attack and defense. This buff can be applied twice to a hunter. Next up is Clutch Claw Boost level 1, which allows our Clutch Claw attacks to tenderize monster body parts in just one hit instead of two. Definitely a useful bonus for the Insect Glaive. And then finally, when you're wearing your mantles, you'll have Heavy Artillery level 2, increasing the damage of heavy artillery found around Shrade Castle by 100%. So always make sure you have a mantle ready before firing cannons or ballista and such. So next up are the set bonuses. We'll have two of them. First of all is the Gold Rathian Essence Divine Blessing Secret, which allows the Divine Blessing skill to go from level 3 to a maximum of level 5, increasing the chances that we'll take reduced damage when we take a hit from a monster. And finally is the Elatrion Divinity Element Conversion, which allows a portion of our elemental resistance to be turned into elemental damage. So there we have it. That is the build I'd recommend for taking on Fatalis with the Insect Glaive. As you can see, it is a little bit of a jack of all trades, having offensive skills, defensive skills, and quality of life skills. In a way, it's a jack of all, master of none. But every build out there has pros and cons. The biggest pros for this build include its damage output. Whilst not the strongest damage output, it's still strong enough to take down Fatalis, whilst breaking its horns along the way. On top of that, this build has quite a few defensive skills, thanks to having Evade Window, Divine Blessing, Defense Boost and more, which adds to this build's survivability. And finally, when it comes to the pros, is the quality of life skills this build has, from Health Boost, Power Prolonger, Part Breaker and more. These will all make a hunt feel easier than it normally is. But unfortunately there are cons. The biggest con for this build is unfortunately this build's lack of affinity based skills. Whilst yes, it does have weakness exploit, you're missing other affinity based skills like crit boost and critical eye, which reduces our damage slightly. Not enough for this build to fail taking on Fatalis, but it's something to be aware of. And the other con for this build, which is more of a con for the Insect Glaive so to speak, is even though we have a big chunk of purple sharpness, there'll be times during the hunt where you'll burn through that sharpness gauge really quickly, dipping down to blue sharpness, which reduces our overall DPS until you can sharpen again. But regardless, if you're looking for a build to take on Fatalis with the Insect Glaive, I'd strongly recommend this one. I personally had a lot of fun with it, and although it's not focused on any one area, all its aspects, offense, defense and quality of life combined, make it functional and allow it to easily take on the Black Dragon. So there we have it, that is the build I recommend for taking on Fatalis with the Insect Glaive. Of course, as you farm the monster more and more, you'll get Fatalis gear and weaponry, which is the best in the game, and should allow you to easily take on the Black Dragon. But until then, this build will work just fine. So until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you an Anti-Fatalis build for the Insect Glaive in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.